Have you ever gotten into a dungeon and thought, these aren't the relics I wanted? Now, these are some pretty good relics here, but I'm going to teach you in this video how to farm or hunt or manipulate the proper relics that you're looking for to support your comp. So what we're doing here is we're changing out our army loadout, and by doing this, you can effectively manipulate the relics that you get. But the change to your army loadout has to be significant enough to make the game think that you need different relics. So there are three ways that you might change relics. The first is to beat the dungeon. The second is to change your army loadout like we just talked about. And you can see here that my army loadout didn't change relevantly enough, so the relic offerings did not change. And the third is to wait until midnight, and those relics will naturally roll over. So the importance of this is it can allow you to overcome challenges that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to. So for that reason, in this clip, we've changed out the two elemental minis on the bottom right here. And you can see, going into this next run, that our elemental damage relic in the middle was changed to Glazed Cannon, and our other relic, the Bloodlust, was changed to Shadow Blade. And that is reflective of our Huntress, which has stealth, our Prowler, which has stealth, and our Defias Bandit, which has stealth. And we no longer have the elemental minis, so the game thought, okay, well, let's change these two relics for whatever reason and offer two new ones in its place. So we can take advantage of this to try and manipulate the game into giving us better relics. So we look on this new page. I took out two of these stealth units, and you see that it gave me the Shadow Blade still, and that's because I have Defias Bandit still in the deck, which is another stealth unit. So it's biasing my relic to take Shadow Blade. So to fix this, what we do is we take out the Defias Bandit to get offered a different relic entirely. And if we have a particular comp that we think might be successful in here, we can manipulate it such that our third relic is now Light Feather because we have some flying units still in our deck, but we don't have any more stealth units in our deck. So now I'm deciding, okay, well, I don't want that. That's a garbage relic. I'm going to take out my flyers and I'm going to adjust my loadout to have some decent melee units. And you know how Prowler has stealth? Well, we can change its talent to not have stealth with Predatory Instincts instead of on the prowl. And now I can go back in and I can get a new relic set because I have all melee units. And I figure, okay, well, these chickens aren't probably going to be useful, so let's go ahead and just throw in an elemental-less spell, because many spells are elemental. And let's just make sure that we have a sort of okay comp here and see if we can get a different relic in that regard. So there's a little bit of finagling you can do. I tried to make it biased towards melee units, and you'll note here, when we go in, now I have Leeching Poison offered in that third slot, which is an excellent relic. Now, the big problem is none of my units really benefit that well from Leeching Poison. And I just want to point out here, this is actually from the third stage in the same run. I was offered Leeching Poison with the elemental loadout. So you can get some of these relics offered earlier in the run if you change your deck loadout. And that last clip was showing that Hogger kind of sucks with Leeching Poison, and this clip is showing you that Hogger doesn't really have the ability to take units that benefit from it, Fire Elemental, Abomination, because none of his army loadout slots will give them positive levels. So we decide, let's go ahead and take the Spoiled Meat talent on Hogger, which gives him poison, and it makes Leeching Poison significantly stronger. And I went ahead and I threw in Holy Nova because I was like, okay, I want to give him Inner Fire so he can live. And you'll note here that that gives me back the Elemental Damage Relic. And unfortunately, there are no minis that benefit from it. So that's a little bit of a glitch. So you got to be careful which units you slot in here. I slotted in Fire Elemental because I'm like, well, let's try and get some bonus life leech here. That didn't work, so I swapped it out for Abomination. And you'll note that I can't make either of those units benefit from those army slots, so they're going to be lower level on average. But the most important thing, getting into the run now, is that you have a unit that benefits from the relics because you want to work smarter, not harder. Exploit early, exploit often, as everyone's saying all of a sudden, you know. And yeah, we just want to make this as easy as possible for us, so we don't have to work as hard. So starting out here, our win condition is to snowball Hogger to his third stage because we have the Spoiled Meat talent, and he's going to benefit the most from that talent when trying to push forward when he's at 3 stacks, because on the fourth time you play him, he's stacked to max stacks. He moves faster and he attacks faster, so he's going to get into combat faster, he's going to hit the enemies more, and he's going to get more poison stacks on the enemies, which is going to make him heal faster. If you notice in the non-Leeching Poison, in the non-Spoiled Meat build, Hogger was dying very quickly to these minis, but now he's able to tank several of them and push them back. And this is actually the hardest part of the run, is just this intro phase where you're trying to fight for your life and you're trying to not take any damage on your base while you let Hogger scale effectively. And if we can get past this phase here, we are going to be primed to get on the boss and kill him. Now the neat thing is that poison pretty much stacks indefinitely. And I previously thought that if you got to the boss and you stacked poison on him, there was some diminishing returns on it. There might be diminishing returns, but this run has kind of shown me that actually, if there is diminishing returns, it's very mild, and you can stack some serious poison on the boss, which makes it so Hogger basically never dies because he has a Leeching Poison, and the boss will take increasing and increasing damage until eventually they die because they can no longer heal or sustain. So we'll see that in the third stage here. But you can see I'm gradually pushing forward, even though my units are pretty underleveled, and our deck comp here is very bad. So we are making significant use of this very good relic because, I mean, throwing a bunch of melee units, we don't even really have any units that can shoot up, really, as far as I know. And yeah, that's a nice little perk here. We've taken that into consideration with building our deck, is that we don't have to worry about adding units that shoot up because none of these stages have flying units in them. So the only thing we really have to worry about is like a Banshee stealing one of our flying units, but because we don't have any flying units in our deck, we're not worried about that. And you'll see here that basically Hogger got to the boss, he stacked a massive poison, he never died, and it was easy to take him out. So I go ahead and take Unstable Concoction here because it at least stacks the poison a little bit higher on the boss here, and it makes it easier to sustain on Hogger because we're going to have bigger poison stacks. And I think how it works is it detects how much poison Hogger's stacked and how much damage it's doing, and then it adjusts the heal he gets from Leeching Poison based off that. So now we're kind of pushing forward here. Again, the name of the game is to try and sustain as long as possible. So I'm trying to keep my Hogger healthy as I get close to this hunter and push her back. This huntress, excuse me. And we want to try and take this right tower if possible. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to take it with a baseline Hogger. He's just not going to have enough power. And generally speaking, the CPU will try and answer you here. So I'm just going to lose that Hogger for free. And fortunately, we make these footmen to counter this Prowler that's coming forward. Now we cycle back to Hogger. So we want to try and play our cheapest units. Unfortunately, the way we constructed the deck, because that's what gave us Leeching Poison, made us include all these expensive units. So we're kind of trying to spawn the cheapest of the units and the most effective of the units in the matchups that they're in to get back to Hogger, because Hogger is going to be our win condition. If we can get Hogger on the boss and get the poison stacks high enough, he's going to be able to tank the boss and effectively bring him down without any risk of him dying. Leeching Poison is a very powerful relic, and it's the reason I'm making this video is you want to try and if you can pick a relic that makes the run easier, you should do it. You should use every advantage available to you, because that's the whole point of this dungeon roguelike experience, is that you're able to customize and pick the best things and get the best runs that you can by being savvy like this. So you can see here my Hogger's not dying because the poison's just stacked so high. He's able to easily tank this -2. So we get offered Rich Purple Shirt, which is an okay relic. However, I think Prospector's Myths is going to be better for our run here because it allows us to cycle to our win condition faster by giving us more gold every third gold mine. And we want to basically just play as many Hoggers as possible because that's how we're going to win, right? So we start off here by defending our base. This is the first thing you got to be worried about, is basically if you're underleveled, your base is going to take a lot of damage in this initial push, and you kind of want to defeat this push before you take too much damage, because the CPU might spawn more enemies from that middle tower if you don't take it, and you might get backdoored. So that's the first thing you got to watch out for. The second is, if you lose both of these side bosses at any time, they are going to march back on your base, and it's kind of hard to defend them, particularly if you let them get too close. So we're going to go ahead and take both of these side bosses. However, in my opinion, I think it's better to just take the right boss only if you're using a Leeching Poison build, simply because you can just push down the main boss better. And I think that this left boss actually is Mortal Strike debuff, which makes it so the main boss takes 50% less healing when he's attacked by the left boss. I think it's not worth it. I don't think it actually slows down the healing of the Blue Ogre enough to make any difference at all. And I think Blizzard probably should buff that to like 75 or 80% for it to actually be worthwhile. So we go ahead and take this left boss here. And the thing we got to be worried about is if we lose the boss, which we might because our push is kind of weak and the CPU's units are a higher level than ours, we're going to have to clear it again. So you'll note that this is my second Hogger on the boss. The first one died, but he's going to stay alive for the rest of this run simply because the slow that the Elf Mage is applying to the boss is protecting him, and the Leeching Poison, the poison from the spoiled meat that Hogger is applying to the boss, is stacking indefinitely. And this is why I don't think there is a soft cap anymore on these poison stacks you can do on the boss, because you'll see over time the boss is going to take more and more damage even though I'm not spawning significantly more minions to attack him, and the blue ogre behind him is going to have a harder and harder time keeping him alive, even though we've only got 2 Hoggers and an Abomination applying poison. So you'll see here I'm reinforcing the left because I don't want to be overrun and be backdoored. There's a little thing with this left ogre is if he gets too close to your base, I think he just hard aggroes onto your base and you can't actually spawn minions to get him off of it. So if he start attacking your base and you're under leveled like I am, your base is going to fall pretty quick. So you've got to be very careful with that. And as you can see here, we basically killed the boss with that stacking poison, which was pretty crazy. And the neat little thing here is I went ahead this morning and decided, I'm going to queue another one with the exact same deck. I'm going to show you the loadout again just for posterity. Posterity. There we go. And yeah, essentially we have all these useless melee units, right? We have the Abomination, we have the Footmen, we have the Ghouls. All these units are really not doing anything except they're making it more likely that we're going to get Leeching Poison, which is a very strong relic. And we have Polymorph kind of as a support tool. I don't really think it's the greatest with Hogger because he doesn't really do great elemental damage. But I'm going to skip the entire run and just show you the final run now, where we only push the right side. And you'll notice I have it on 2x speed just so it's a little bit quicker. But you'll notice that our base is a lot more fragile this time because we're now at a -4 average level at disadvantage. And this makes it so our base is made out of paper and they can really push us down very easily. But our win condition is just to get Hogger stacking on that boss. So we're not even going to take the left boss this time. We will try and hold any pushes that occur on the left because we don't want to get backdoored. But we don't really want to have to worry about the extra damage that left boss is doing. So we're not going to worry about him. We're going to take the tower so we can keep pushing in the middle as best we can. I know where I'm about to lose this Elf Mage. So I decide to send my Hogger up the right side, who's now in his 4th incarnation, his final form. And he's going to be able to take back the Elf Mage pretty quickly. And I'm going to be sending in these armored units to kind of tank the boss and allow me to develop my Hogger as best as possible. I actually decided to go ahead and send in an Abomination just to get as much poison stacking as possible because I want my Hogger to not die here. And the faster I can get that poison stacking, the bigger the poison dot is going to be and the more Leeching Poison is going to heal him for. Now, I don't necessarily know if it counts external applications of poison from like other sources, like if the Abomination is doing it, but I go ahead and do it anyway just to be a little bit more sure. And you can see that the boss is taking exponentially more damage as more and more stacks are added. And now I don't really have to reinforce that push in the middle at all, and I just have to hold the left here because if we have anything come in, we're going to die. So like I say, work smarter, not harder. Pick those better relics and you're going to have a lot better time in the dungeon. Let us know how your relic hunting goes and your dungeon runs. Go down below and I will catch you on the flip side. Take it easy. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.